So guys, it's finally happening. I'm starting to hear rumblings about the bottom being in for PayPal stock. I mean, the beatdown has lasted far longer than any of us thought, and now there are actual tangible signs that a bottom is indeed forming. So let's discuss this topic in depth today, because if that truly is the case and we do have a bottom forming, PayPal is going to be set up to go on an excellent double up run or more in the very near future. But there's also a major downside to this narrative that nobody's talking about, so we absolutely have to discuss that too. Remember, you guys come here for the truth, so make sure you like the video if you like the truth with all your sort of stocks. I'd love to say PayPal is going to double up from here, and it's just all roses and sunshine and all that good stuff, but it's just not. So let's talk about this entire topic here today. And just so you guys know, the biggest announcement in the history of my channel is coming this weekend, so you don't want to miss that when it comes. But let's talk about PayPal right now, because that's honestly why we're all here today and why you clicked on this video. So let's jump right into the 4 signs that PayPal is indeed at a bottom here. And we'll also get into that warning as well, because it kind of nullifies all 4 of these reasons, all 4 of these signs all together. So we absolutely have to talk about that as well. So sign number 1 is PayPal didn't tank after earnings. Now, for virtually every earnings call for, I don't know, a year and a half now, you guys go back and look. I didn't even bother going back and look because I just didn't want to bring up old stuff again and the pain that we've suffered each and every single time. But regardless of whether earnings were good, earnings were bad, it hasn't mattered one bit. The fact is, PayPal has earnings, and then the stock just immediately craters. In some cases, 15, 20%, whatever the heck the case was in a day. Obviously, it hadn't been that extreme lately. But the point being, for the first time in a very, very long time, we have PayPal kind of sustaining after earnings. Now, we didn't get a huge run up. We didn't get any sort of crazy blast off or anything like that. But just the fact that all the folks out there pointing to, oh man, it's got next stop is 40, then next stop is 35, and all the people drawing all the little pretty charts and lines and graphs all over their little charts and all that good stuff, showing it was guaranteed to go there. We didn't actually do that this time around. We actually maintained, and now we're kind of marching our way back up. So this is kind of the exact opposite of how PayPal stock has normally acted after earnings. So that to me right there is a very, very good sign. But guys, that's just one sign. It doesn't mean anything. We've got to have a lot more than that to actually say if we indeed formed a bottom or not. So let's jump into sign number 2. And that is the new CEO is in place and Wall Street didn't poop all over it. As a matter of fact, I think they kind of like the guy. I think they kind of like what they heard. I know if you guys, I'll put the video up here if you didn't see the earnings reaction, not really a reaction, but my discussion of the earnings after the fact. In regards to PayPal stock, it was actually very well received. It was an excellent earnings call. It was one of the best earnings call, honestly, I've heard from a new CEO coming in, first earnings call. He really came out, really sent the right message, and really spoke to Wall Street themselves, spoke to those hedge funds, spoke to those institutional investors. And so it was really great to see that, because it was just as likely that Wall Street could have thrown up the whole, we don't like the guy, he's too inexperienced. We didn't like the fact he said this. We didn't like the fact he said that. That happens a lot, especially when they're already down on a stock, especially when they're already negative on a stock. So it was very nice to see that the Wall Street narrative around the new CEO is, hey, they may have something here. We like a lot of what he said. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to send it to the moon, guys. That doesn't mean Wall Street's going to just pour all in and all that sort of stuff like that. The new CEO has a lot to prove. There's a lot there that he's got to prove. But the fact that they didn't just take a dump all over it and basically just send the stock plummeting and just going, oh, it's going to be more of the same, or it's just another, ho-hum CEO coming in, to me really speaks volumes that, hey, maybe we will start to kind of form that bottom pattern there to where we absolutely can see a support line there, that it's not going to break down to the next level end, which can set it up for a nice little rocket ship up. But again, those 2 reasons aren't enough to get there. We need more than that in order to prove that there actually is a bottom in PayPal stock. So sign number 3 is the CEO made it clear they're back to growth mode again. Look, this has been really pretty much the hardest thing and the biggest thing that's been holding PayPal down for as long as it's been held down, is the fact that a lot of people on Wall Street were questioning, is it no longer a growth stock, and has it kind of moved over in the value territory? And if that's the case, that means that multiple has to continue to come down, continue to come down, and continue to come down to more of a value style multiple. But as we saw on the earnings call, it wasn't kind of tiptoeing around. He didn't say, oh, well, we hope to get back to growth. And, we're going to do these 5 initiatives to try to get our growth engine going again. He was very blunt and very clear and very direct. We are a growth company, and that's what we are doing. And more importantly, it appears as though if he's able to execute to the vision that he laid out there, the board has given him latitude to absolutely send the stock and do things that are needed in order to send it into growth mode. So no kind of middle of the ground to where we're kind of, all right, we're going to try to make some of the older shareholders happy, and we're going to try to, take some risk, but not too much risk. No, that was not the message that was sent at all. The message was sent that they are going full on growth. They are going to gun for it. They're going to go for it. And that right there is huge for setting that bottom, because that should at least start tamping down the noise about it being a value company, so we can get that multiple back up to where it should be, which immediately would just give us a great run in the stock if it just went back up to fair value, much less if they actually start to perform to the exact message and the exact plan, the exact revenue streams, the exact profitability measures that they've laid out there for the stock over the next year. No matter how we slice it, it's a great sign that the CEO is making it clear that they are back in growth mode again, which means everything they're going to do is going to be in service of getting back to growing the company like a growth company does. And sign number 4 is PayPal has been outperforming the market occasionally after this last earnings call. Guys, I don't know about you, but for pretty much the past year and a half, every time I open up my app and I look at all the stocks that I have either on my watch list or just, the ones that I own, it doesn't matter how green the day is. It doesn't matter what the market's doing. The market can gain 5% a day. I can have stocks up 15, 20% a day, and there's PayPal in negative territory. And, vice versa, when the market goes negative, well, PayPal is usually the most negative out of all the stocks in there. It has been the laggard in my portfolio for more than a year now. It just has. That's the truth. That's just me being honest. But something strange has kind of happened since that earnings call. There have been days where they've been nice green days, and there's PayPal actually leading the pack. It actually has a 3 or 4% return, where other stocks that have typically returned a lot better and have absolutely performed better, they're sitting at 1 or 2% up. So that's kind of been a strange thing. It's kind of popped up in my group occasionally too. We're kind of have some discussion like, whoa, wait a second. Why is PayPal my leading, winner on the day per se? It may not hold it through the entire day, but the point being, nothing could be further from the truth about that before, where it was always the dog. It was always a laggard. The question was, how much further was it going to lag behind? Now it's starting to be one of the winners, one of, in the top 2 or 3, sometimes, be in the top spot there for part of the day, maybe even the entire day. So that right there to me is a bit of a change that I've started noticing with the stock that could be a signal that the bottom is in on PayPal stock, and we are ready for that next rocket ship up, because when it decides to move again, it's going to move pretty quick. Now, don't go thinking we're going to 4X in 2 months or anything crazy like that. I'm not talking about that. Right now, I think we'd all be happy if we just had a positive month, right? Let's just go 1 month at a time, get a positive month underneath our belt, and kind of move on to the next month from there. And before we know it, we'll be sitting on a very nice gain. But the CEO said it. I've been saying it as well. We got a long road to hoe here, but it's very nice to see. And it's definitely a sign that the bottom could be in when you start seeing PayPal be one of your better performers instead of your laggard. But that leads me perfectly into the huge, massive warning, whatever you want to call it there. It's a massive warning that you absolutely have to understand with this stock, or with any stock on the stock market. And that is simply the fact that nobody knows when there's a bottom, and you won't know the bottom for months until after the bottom has actually been formed and you've already kind of rocketed its way up. So anybody waiting on confirmation on the bottom is just wrong, and you're waiting on the wrong things. I could show you proof through all the technicals, through technical analysis, through all kinds of charts and graphs and everything else, that PayPal had bottomed at $105. And we know that wasn't the case. I could do the same thing at 75, at 55, at 45 if it got down there. We can play this game over and over and over again. But the reality was, if you knew where the bottom was, or if anybody knew where the bottom was, or could even remotely accurately predict it, they would be trillionaires, right? You'd own all the stocks you want to own at the perfect bottom. But the reality is, nobody can time the bottom. Nobody knows where the bottom is. And we're not going to know, is this actually the bottom of PayPal? Or do we have another leg down? And that another leg down just isn't coming for another month or two till something else happens, or until the next earnings call. Let's say the next earnings isn't good, let's say, or whatever the case is. There could be some other macro event that happens. There's a lot of other things that can take us away from that bottom. So you don't really get confirmation of a bottom until, let's say PayPal is trading around, 54, 55, something like that right now. Man, maybe whenever I get up to, 70, maybe 75 or so is where I start feeling comfortable that, hey, maybe we saw the bottom in the stock there. But I've seen it before where a stock will go down, then make a nice run up, make a nice 10, 20% move up, just to take another massive leg down again. We saw it last year with Meta, actually, is the exact scenario I can kind of think of, to where, man, it seemed like it formed a bottom at 150, then down at 120, then down at 100, and then it just like all kind of imploded from there all the way down to 80 before it finally did actually form that bottom there. but it would go on runs. It would form a bottom at 120 and it would run back up to 130, 135, 140 before then just cratering back down even further. And so I want to make sure that we're kind of tempering those expectations on a stock like PayPal, where it feels like the bottom's in. There's obviously some great signs that a bottom could be in, but the reality is nobody knows where that's at. So I'm simply following my plan, continuing my modified DCA into this stock, although I own plenty of it. I don't need to own any more. But to me, that's what I'm going to continue to do and continue to see what happens. I'm not interested in calling the bottom in a stock. Anybody else that's out there trying to tell you they can time the bottom of the stock, well, they're probably right half time, the wrong other half time, and I don't know. I don't want to bat 50%. I just want to follow and buy great stocks at great prices. And I know that's what PayPal's at still today, regardless of any sort of run that it gets here in the future. And if you want to see my watch list complete with price targets, you want to take 5 courses for free, see all my buy and sell alerts for free, use our stock analyzer tool for free, and be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. Get tons of exclusive videos that I release every week to my group and a ton more. Make sure you check out the pinned comment down there and see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market, and click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.